We're surrounded today by the mind-numbing slogans of wokeness and identity politics. We see these slogans pouring out of government. We see them in corporate America, of course, in the universities, in the media. And the slogans have a sort of artificial quality. They bear no resemblance to reality. They're not anchored in science. They're not anchored, of course, in tradition or common usage. They're just pushed on us in a sort of coordinated ideological way. And I mentioned yesterday, but I'll mention again, a classic example of this is the statement that came out of the State Department today on International Pronouns Day. Who made this a day? International Pronouns Day. We share why many people list pronouns on their email and social media profiles. So the question I want to get at is, what is the psychology behind this? Who are the people that do this and why? Now, interestingly, we can get some insight into this by looking at, believe it or not, the old Soviet Union. And an important essay written by the poet and dissident Vaclav Havel. He was a dissident in Czechoslovakia, the old, which was part of the Soviet Empire. And he was a protester against the Soviet regime, helped to bring it down in his home country, became subsequently the prime minister of that country. So just an important figure, both in the literary world and as a political activist. Now, normally I wouldn't draw comparisons between the Soviet Union and America. It would seem crazy to me in my earlier life to compare the practices and propaganda of a totalitarian society with America, a free society. But we've got to admit, in all candor, that America is no longer, fully speaking, a free society. I'm not saying we're a totalitarian society, but we are moving in that direction. We're seeing taken for granted freedoms erode and in some cases even collapse. Now, Vaclav Havel, in a famous essay that he wrote in 1979, he talks about the power of the powerless. Now, let's go through this essay briefly because you'll see its relevance to kind of woke propagandizing and the slogans of identity politics. Vaclav Havel begins by talking about a greengrocer in the Soviet Union or in Soviet-controlled Czechoslovakia, who puts up a sign in his store that says, "Workers of the world unite." The old communist slogan. And Vaclav Havel says, now, let's think about it. What is this man actually trying to say? Is he actually calling upon the workers of the world to unite? Unite around what? How does he expect to communicate with them? What is the shared agenda that they have? So Vaclav Havel says his putting up of that slogan has nothing to do with any of that. He's not trying to communicate with workers. He's not even trying to express his real opinions on the subject. So then we have a deeper question. What is the point? What is the psychological motive of putting up this slogan? Now, Vaclav Havel says that this worker is, in a sense, a servant of the Soviet state. He is a conformist. He is somebody who goes along. And he wants to make it clear that he goes along because he knows that there are consequences if he doesn't go along. The state is, in a sense, exercising, even through the private sector, even through ordinary workers and storekeepers, a kind of sweeping surveillance over the whole society. And this guy wants to be, you may say, an obedient servant of this system. Now, here's where Havel's point really takes off. Havel says, let's say the greengrocer put up the following slogan: "I am a coward. I am afraid. I don't want to go against the state. And that's why I'm signaling my obedience to the state." Havel says that would in fact be a true statement of the psychology of this greengrocer. He goes, but the greengrocer would never put up that slogan. Why? Because the greengrocer is a human being. He has dignity. He has pride. He doesn't want to seem like he is a worm. He doesn't want to seem like he's a parasite. He doesn't want to seem like he's cowering in fear. So what does he do? The point of putting up the "Workers of the World Unite" is essentially to camouflage your fear, your cowardice, and your obedience behind ideological cover. So you're pretending as if, no, I'm not just a coward. I am a subscriber to a noble ideology rooted in Marx that wants to bring together the workers of the world. So Havel's point is that what this greengrocer is doing, in fact, is collaborating in a lie that is actually known throughout the whole society. No one believes that the workers of the world are uniting. Not even the leaders of society believe it. But the point of the whole exercise is to establish a regime of social conformity. You could almost say that the regime is even stronger if they put out slogans that no one believes at all. But nevertheless, everyone repeats, because that shows that they have real power. That shows that they can make you say it, even if it makes absolutely no sense. It's almost like making you say that 2 + 2 is 5. Because if they can get you to do that, it shows that you have no dignity. You are completely under their thumb. So Havel's point is, how do we fight this? How do we go against it? He goes, most people don't want to go against it because why? Well, they don't want to be stigmatized. They don't want to be ostracized. See how familiar all of this is to our lives in America now? Vaclav Havel is talking about communist-controlled Czechoslovakia, which later became the Czech Republic. So Havel's point is there's only one solution. We have to refuse to be part of the lie. Even if in small ways you are a naysayer, you refuse to go along, you won't put up your pronouns, you won't submit to the reigning ideology, then it becomes increasingly obvious that the emperor has no clothes. Then the authorities have to figure out, now what do we do? We've got all these people who won't go along. It's kind of like all the parents who aren't going along with critical race theory. They're just refusing to submit. And so the regime ratchets it up. Let's turn the FBI on them. Let's call meetings of all the intelligence agencies of government. Can we classify them as domestic terrorists? But the point is they have to escalate because ultimately, you may say, the peasants refuse to go along with the program. And in this way, Havel says, we break the tottering structure of the regime. And maybe one day in our regime, our woke industrial complex, if you will come tottering and collapsing down in the same manner as the old Soviet Union.